Well, now we move to the second news video as the rumors for the Hall of Fame are coming out, with Great Muta being rumored to be inducted this year into the WWE Hall of Fame. Muta retired earlier this year, or had his retirement tour earlier this year, and ended up retiring after his match with Tetsuya Naito. Muta had, a 40-plus year career that never took him to WWE, but Muta was a common presence in WCW and the NWA, and even spent time on Impact Wrestling. And, WWE has inducted international talent before, and I think that inducting Muta would be very fitting, not surprising whatsoever, and something that WWE should at least be considering. Also, Jerry the King Lawler has given us, we've been provided an update on Jerry the King Lawler. Lawler, unfortunately, suffered a stroke in early February, and he had been down in Florida recovering from said stroke, but returned home to Memphis yesterday. I saw an update from Billy Silverman and Bill Dundee on the King returning home. It is a very, awesome sight. He was greeted with balloons and, just everybody being super happy that the King was back home. I, for one, would like to extend my deepest happiness to Jerry Lawler and his family and friends that King was able to make it home and everything, that he's continuing to recover. So, nothing but the best to the King. Speaking of the Hall of Fame, though, we were given the update last night on SmackDown that Rey Mysterio will officially take his rightful spot inside the hallowed halls of the WWE Hall of Fame, as Rey Mysterio is the first inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2023. Rey, I don't know that there's anybody that deserves it more, especially if you consider the fact that Rey Mysterio is from San Diego, California, and WWE is in California this year for WrestleMania. So Rey Mysterio is going in around his hometown of San Diego. They're in LA, I believe, this year. So it's not necessarily San Diego, but it's at least California. So he's going in his home state of California, which is something that I'm sure a lot of people hope to do when they get inducted into the Hall of Fame. I highly doubt that Batista will join the Hall of Fame as well this year, because Rey Mysterio is more than enough as far as a household name to grace the Hall of Fame. So I think it's just going to be lesser known talent this year, and not, like another main event level talent getting inducted, because WWE is not going to spend another household name on this year's class. But I'm happy to be finding out who will be joining the Hall of Fame in 2023, because we've been waiting for a pretty excessive amount of time to find out who would be joining the Hall of Fame. We're going to break this down a little bit more, Rey's induction, in the SmackDown recap video that's coming up, so stay tuned for that. But we got more news to get to, as Alexa Bliss took to Twitter to basically insinuate that she's not on hiatus and that WWE knows where to find her, and that basically she's just away from television because WWE does not have any plans for her in the build-up to WrestleMania, and that WWE doesn't want her on television if there's nothing for her to do, similar to basically the fact that Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows are not asked to TV if they have no plans for them. So that could be something, but I do hope, for the sake of Alexa Bliss and for the sake of the women's division, that Alexa is back on television after WrestleMania, because Alexa is an asset to the women's division and is somebody that, that should be given something to do. Speaking of the women's division, former NXT star Frankie Monet, aka Impact Wrestling Knockouts champion, or one half of the Impact Wrestling Knockouts tag team champion, Taya Valkyrie. It is said in a report that her contract is expiring and she is finishing up with Impact Wrestling, likely going to drop the Impact Wrestling Knockouts Tag Team Championships at an upcoming TV taping for Impact Wrestling. And it's rumored that Taya will be joining either WWE or AEW. Taya Valkyrie is a Canadian-born wrestler, and it is ironic that Jade Cargill has challenged a Canadian-born wrestler to come in and challenge her for the TBS Championship. So it is possible that maybe, just maybe, instead of relying on Chris Statlander to take the belt away from from Jade Cargill, maybe AEW will lean on somebody like Taya Valkyrie, an already established name from outside the promotion, to come in and defeat Jade Cargill for the TNT Championship. That is all speculation, of course, as WWE is also said to be interested in in Taya Valkyrie, rather, as Taya, again, was a member of the NXT roster as Frankie Monet, but was released, I believe, in 2021, and has worked for Impact Wrestling since, winning a variety of championships, and I believe she is actually still the Reyes de Reign champion in Mexico, which is the women's champion in Mexico in AAA. So if she is leaving Impact Wrestling, I think AEW would be the likely home for her, considering the fact of her considering her status as champion in AAA. Speaking of assets to AEW, New Japan is in the middle of the New Japan Cup, and this second round is underway with Sanada and Tatsuya Naito advancing in the second round against Kenta and advancing against Kenta and Chase Owens. And right now, as of right now, according to CageMatch.net, Taya Valkyrie is still the AAA Reyes de Renes champion, which is their women's champion, which is the women's champion down in AAA. So if Taya Valkyrie is set to leave Impact Wrestling and go to AEW or WWE with her status as Reina de Reinas champion, I think AAA may be the more likely place for her to land because of her status as the AAA Women's Champion and AEW's status with AAA. It's just a more likely possibility. But I wanted to talk about something before we moved up, as I'd watched the NWO biography on A&E from WWE Superstar Sunday with A&E, and Eric Bischoff told a story about a fan named Amanda who put forth a question in for Eric at a convention in, I believe it was Phoenix, and she told a story about how she had a tough upbringing, and the only time that she actually got to spend time with her father was watching Monday Nitro, watching wrestling, and that they love the NWO. And Amanda, the wrestling fan, reached out to Eric and his wife, and announced, mentioned that fact that she was getting married and that both of her parents had passed on, and asked if Eric would walk her down the aisle. Eric ended up, of course, flattered, saying yes. And Eric Bischoff ended up walking her down the aisle at her wedding. People wonder, how could you be like, the one criticism everybody makes about professional wrestling, and people wonder how you could be that attached. And it's moments like this that make you attached, because, I mean, how does that not hit you in the feels? The amount of people that watched wrestling with their grandparents, the amount of people that watched wrestling because of their grandparents or because of their father or because of their mother, and that was the only time they got to spend with that specific family member. It's impossible not to, understand then why professional wrestling. But it's moments, it's stories like that I've never heard Bischoff tell, that I've never heard Eric tell, that show you the power of professional wrestling. And that's why I wanted to include this in this video, because I wanted to show, I wanted to explain to, you guys, if you haven't heard the story, that's one of the reasons why you should watch the biography and Superstar Sunday from A&E and WWE. But also, it's the power of professional wrestling. It's the power of professional wrestling. And with that, I will leave you with that, because no other story can top that, in my opinion, and I will see you in the next news video.